Okay, friends and neighbors, we have a old timer here. It's an Alamo 6A. I have been avoiding this one because the chassis bolts are missing. This wiggles. This is slumped forward and you can't turn the tremolo knobs. The cord, God knows what anybody did with that. The cabinet has gotten wet in a basement or something, and the veneer is coming off. It's got a nice big old Jensen speaker. That's kind of cool. Somebody put an appliance cord on this. That's a nice thought. We've got some tubes, but we're missing a power tube because that's a power tube. This is a 6L6G, I think, maybe. What is this? Does it even say? This is a mystery tube. I'm gonna guess, I think this is probably a 6L6GB. And the reason I guess that is laying in the bottom of this thing is a 6L6GC. I think that somebody pulled out of here. Where is it? I think it's laying in here. There's our speaker, which I guess, why do I have this? Why is this here? This thing's just a, what is this an instrument cable? What is this? What is this cord? It's just an instrument cable, okay. And then laying back here, I know this is great camera work, is a 6L6GC, I think. This is a 6L6GC. I did see the labeling on these. Why can I not see it now? This is, okay, this is a 6L6GB. So this is a GB. What is this? Is this a 6L6 before they had GC? I don't know. I'm going to have to try to find a schematic on this. And it, like I say, this amp belongs to a friend of mine. I'm not trying to be a whiny, complainy pain in the butt, but this amp is going to be a whiny, painy, pain in the butt, so I'm not looking forward to it. Okay, so our power cord, 3-wire powered grounded cord, that's not grounded to jack. That's really useful. Doesn't do a bit of good. The parts in here are packed in here like rats. God hopes I can get a schematic on this. I see one of the yellow sprays. Those are usually paper, and probably these red ones are probably paper too. This thing might be looking for a full cap job. Oh, please hang me. Nice speaker. Huh. Now this is great. The output transformer is attached to the speaker, and there is no provisions for unplugging it whatsoever. We still have an old can cap over there. We've got, this thing looks like it's still pretty original. I mean, we got tons of old parts in here. And now I understand why I was dreading doing this, and I still am. Okay, so since the speaker's on a backer board, I can kind of take them out together, I guess, and then that way I don't have to try to desolder that. Okay, welcome to Tube Land. Those 12AX7s are failed. The power tubes are a joke, mismatched joke there. No soup for you. The 5U4 passed. That 12AX7 looks real good, and this 6SL7, well, it's given my meter a mediocre, and for a while there it was giving it the heebie-jeebies and it was bouncing around, so that's no good. So both triodes on that are marginal. This thing's gonna be a nightmare on the wallet. Okay, friends and neighbors, I went and got some tubes that weren't burnt out, and I got the Variac. And I figured, well, we gotta know if the transformer is any good. And apparently I have to answer the phone. Okay, so as I was saying, I had to know if this was any if this was worth resurrecting or even trying, because if the power transformer, the choke, or the output transformer is bad, where in the world are we going to get one? But lo and behold, running at reduced voltage, it wants to be an amplifier. And that push button tone circuit thing seems to do something. The tremolo does not. And I thought, well, maybe it's because the foot switch needs to be clicked in, so I put a jumper wire on that, but that didn't do anything. So, those are some 6L6GCs that I have. Yeah, I know it's not GBs or G whatever, but it's close enough. It'll work for now. We're on reduced voltage. The 6SL7 does work, but it's weak. And I put in two 12AX7s to replace the ones that were bad. The 12AX7 over there, that's the oscillator for the tremolo. I did try musical tubes there, but that doesn't run. But yeah, this thing actually wants to work. Go figure that one. Because I knew it wasn't going to be cheap if it did want to work, and if it didn't want to work, it might not be plausible to resurrect this thing without, you know, costing a king's ransom. But it wants to work. Yay. For all you speaker nerds, this is a P15N Jensen C57109, and let's see, what do we have over there? It's 220, which is Jensen 347. One of those is the year code, and this thing's from the 50s, so 53, 54, 50, or maybe 53, 47th week. Are there 47 weeks? Yeah, the brain doesn't remember this stuff. It's broken. My brain is broken. I am not a encyclopedia of knowledge on date codes. I'm an encyclopedia of knowledge on, well, actually I'm just an idiot who's willing to work on these things. Okay, so I wasn't sure how I wanted to do this, so I just decided to do it left to right. So there's a bunch of the .02s replaced by .022s, because that's the closest thing they make now. And now we're on to this section. Now that push button board, you can see the holes where it went. That had to come out. Unscrewing it or unbolting it, and then clipping that 1 meg resistor got me to the out position here. That thing attaches with a nut and a bolt, so that sucks. Now I gotta figure out where the bolts went. I think I see them in there. So we gotta keep on going and replace all these big old cigars. The electrolytic, this one, it's a 10 microfarad, I think 25 volt or whatever. I have something that's about like that. The 450 volt 10 microfarads I'm gonna be ordering, but at least they're out of the way. Okay, so the film caps and, well, one of the electrolytics is done. The film caps here are all done. Got another .22 there. We got another .22 there. We got, or .022. We got a .22 there. 0.1, 0.047 to replace 0.05. Close enough for jazz. Yeah, I don't have the high voltage 10 microfarads. We're gonna have to order those. We're also gonna have to figure out, like for this tower cap here, this outboard bolt-on can cap, we gotta figure out how we're gonna do that. But okay, here's your trivia question. Why did I start with red drops? I did use another red drop there, but then why did I switch over to yellow tubular capacitors? I'll let you think about that one for a minute. Okay, so I did get all of the other caps changed that are films. I gotta wait on my other ones. It does work. I had a issue there. There's a ground on that lug that's the cathodes and the bias for the power tube. So with no cathodes attached, then it couldn't make noise. But it does work, and the tremolo does work now. With those caps changed, it does work. It's a subtle tremolo. If I hit this with a big note, I'm getting some crackling and some motor boating. which again can be related to the filter cap. So until we get that done, I'm not going to start digging in hard on that. Okay, so a few days later, new capacitors came in. So we've done that, and we've done a deletus on the filter, or the can cap. I did a delete. I had to install 3 axials. I did secure them. It's really impossible to make that look neat sometimes, unless you're going to cut the can off and then make a jig and all of that. There's enough space under the chassis that electrically it is safe. It isn't going to malfunction, but I know the guy who comes and looks at it later is going to be like, oh, look at that heck of a technician, baby. But, you know, they won't be in here for another 30, 40 years, so by that point I'll be long since retired and they won't know who I am. I say they're physically secure, so they'll be safe to operate. And good luck on finding a 10-10-10 can cap to replace that. But the motorboating stopped, so everything is working good. The 6SL7 I do have a replacement for. These 6L6GCs, which are replacing the 6L6GBs or whatever was in here before, these are fine. These are actually Sovtex with no hours on them. They're the ones that are the short base, aka 5881s. So that'll work fine. I do have some other 6L6GCs if I needed them, but I don't. One of the original tungsol tubes is okay. That Sylvania's, like I say, questionable, so we're gonna change that one. And our rectifier tube was okay, so that can stay. Well, like I say, that wasn't the perfect rendition, but it seemed appropriate to play on a 50s era amp with a tremolo on it. So, yeah, I'd say it's working pretty good. Yep. So, the push buttons here, these switches, man, I don't think anybody could find replacements, but I've cleaned them a bunch of times. It is working. You have basically from this side to that side, you start it bright, move to slightly darker, middle is kind of like full range, which is what we were playing at, and then you get into darker territory, and then very dark. So push button circuitry, 2 channels, one for your microphone, one for your lap steel. That's what they were intending, I think. I think it's cool. I think it turned out just fine. The owner said he was going to deal with any cosmetic restoration of it, which is great by me because I am not necessarily a woodworking master. I'm not a total bozo either, but I've got enough electronicals around here that I have to deal with. But I apologize if anybody wasn't enthused with my attitude about the rarity and how special finding an amp like this is. If I get excited about how rare and special something is, I'm probably not going to want to even work on it. I'm going to be overwhelmed by what if I break it. So everything that comes in the door just has to be some broken amp that's going to be thrown in the trash if I don't fix it. So that's kind of the attitude I approach it with. But we basically had to put a new power cord on it, and electrolytic caps for absolute certain. Definitely some film caps because our tremolo wouldn't tremolo, and we had a number of tubes that were beyond their useful life. They were beginning to get weak. They probably still would have worked, but again, I want this to be reliable for its owner. So we've ended up putting in basically everything other than 112AX7 and the 5U4. The rest of the tubes have been replaced. And we had film capacitors galore to replace the paper capacitors galore that were in here. Again, it's for the safety of the tubes, it's for the safety of the rest of the circuit. This is not a friendly, easy amp to work in. It's not like a 60s era Fender where you have a big wide chassis with plenty of room. You know, some of those models can be a little cramped, but this was quite cramped. So it's better to, you know, while I'm in there right now screwing around, just get it done, get it changed, put the old ones in a bag, so if somebody wants historical mojo, they can have it. But yeah, Alamo Amp 6A. With a 15-inch Jensen speaker. That's a big bassy sound. I bet this would sound really good with a lap steel.